So, the Cosmere tabletop role-playing game is finally here. Over the past few years, I've participated in playtesting the system, so I'm already pretty familiar with it, and I wanted to give you a brief overview. It's a really great system, and I hope this video piques your interest somewhat. It's obviously quite a bit more niche than D&D is, as it caters to fans of the Cosmere specifically, rather than more generic fantasy conventions like D&D does. But if you're at all familiar with the Cosmere, you're going to have a great time with it. Honestly though, I don't think this would be a terrible introduction to the Cosmere either. With a little work from the GM, even someone who knows nothing about the books could get deeply invested in the setting. Currently, the system only includes the setting of Roshar, the main planet featured in the Stormlight Archive books. As such, Surge Binding is the only option for investiture use available right now. The surges are fundamental forces of the universe, and surge binding is the process by which people manipulate those forces. Investiture is basically just magic. However, the Mistborn setting, both eras 1 and 2, is also being developed, and if I recall correctly, I believe it'll be coming out in the next year or so. Honestly though, I think that the surges are an excellent magic system for beginners. For those that aren't familiar, the way a person gains access to surge binding is through becoming a Knight Radiant. They form a bond with a spren, or a sort of spirit, and swear oaths over time, gaining more power as a result. The specific oaths you swear vary depending on the kind of spren that you bond with, and the surges you have access to as a result. But if you break the oaths, you lose your bond and your powers. In particular, I think this system can be great for people who are beginners in the realm of roleplay. Much like with paladins in D&D, the oaths you swear and uphold provide a framework to fall back on in cases where you may be uncertain of how to act. With all that being said though, let's talk a little about character creation. There's actually an online character creator you can play around with if you like, but I don't think it has all of the options available. I'll be leaving it in the description down below either way, so check it out if you want to. First though, when creating a character, you need to choose your ancestry and your culture. Your ancestry is roughly equivalent to species, or formerly races, in D&D, and on Roshar your options are limited to human or singer. Your culture is where you come from, and can provide some minor benefits, such as a cultural expertise in the area you're from. Instead of picking a class and gaining the associated skills from it, the Cosmere TTRPG system instead uses several talent trees that you can gain access to and pick talents from as you level up. When creating a character, you can choose one of 6 heroic paths to start with, those being Agent, Envoy, Hunter, Leader, Scholar, or Warrior. Each one of those paths also has several branching options to choose from, somewhat like subclasses. There will certainly be more of these added as more planets are added to the system. Being a shard bearer isn't exactly going to be useful in Scadrial after all. If you chose to become a singer, you'll gain access to another talent tree, from which you can gain access to new forms. If you chose to be a human, you gain a bonus talent from your heroic path instead. Later on, as you level up, you can bond a spren and become Radiant, which gives you access to 2 new talent trees, one for each of the surges you can control. Each time you level up, you can choose another talent from any of the trees that you have gained access to so far. Some of those talents do have prerequisites though, so keep that in mind. There are 6 general stats used in this system: Strength, Speed, Intellect, Wisdom, Awareness, and Presence. These 6 stats are also divided into 3 groups: Physical, Cognitive, and Spiritual. And each of those groups also has its own defense, somewhat like an armor class in D&D. Most enemy tests made against players will be made against one of those defenses, depending on the skill being used. Each of your skills is based off of one of these 6 stats. Skills can also be increased by gaining ranks in them as you level up. The bonus you add to any D20 test in a given skill is the associated stat plus the number of ranks you have in that skill. If I had 2 speed and 2 ranks in light weapons, for example, my bonus to any test with light weapons would be 4. However, the maximum ranks possible in any skill is restricted by your character level. Of course, there is a lot more to say about character creation, but those are the basics. Rather than going into detail on how to determine your recovery die, carrying capacity, speed, and all that, I'd rather talk about how gameplay actually works. Most of your social encounters are quite loosely defined, much like most other TTRPG systems I've played in. In more dangerous or consequential conversations or other situations, the party engages in a number of skill tests, trying to get a certain number of successes before a number of failures. The exact number of each can be determined by the GM or is specified in the pre-written adventures. The skills used for these tests are determined by the players in conjunction with the GM, determining what is reasonable for the situation they're in. Combat is the aspect of gameplay that really stands out to me, though. Instead of rolling for initiative, both players and enemies decide how fast they will be going at the beginning of every round. If you choose a fast turn, you move before most people, but only gain 2 actions that round. If you choose a slow turn, you gain 3 actions instead of just the 2. All players who chose a fast turn can take their turns in any order they choose between themselves. Then all enemies that chose a fast turn would move, in an order determined by the GM. After all fast turns have been completed, players who chose a slow turn take their turns in any order, and then enemies who chose a slow turn would move. Reactions are also available, refreshing on your turn each round, but many of your options to spend your reaction would cost focus to use. Being able to dynamically change how fast you move and how many actions you have every round adds a new level of strategy and engagement to combat. Some more powerful talents and abilities require more than one action to use, making it so that you need to take a slow turn to use them effectively. Movement is actually an action itself, making it another thing to factor into your action economy. Suffice it to say that I really like this combat system. Right now, there are a few pre-written modules that are all pretty great. The Bridge 9 one-shot is good for getting accustomed to the system and how it works, and the Stonewalker's adventure takes players from level 1 to around level 9 or 10 while traveling around several places in Roshar. If you like playing D&D, or any other tabletop role-playing game for that matter, and have any interest at all in the Cosmere or the Stormlight archives, I highly recommend giving this system a try. It's really fun, and I expect we'll be getting a lot more content for it soon. The Mistborn portion, like I said before, is coming in a year or so, and that on its own is going to massively increase the amount of heroic paths and way to use investiture that we have access to. I'll bet more systems will be coming soon as well. My best guess is that the next one to be adapted after the Metallic Arts of Scadrial will be the Elantrian Andor or maybe Forgery using soul stamps. Breaths have a lot of potential as well, but I think Awakening would be tough. Using Investiture would have to be completely different than with the other systems. But who knows, maybe I'll be proven wrong and we'll get ABRs or Sand Mastery next. Either way, I'll be happy with whatever we get. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. I would really appreciate it if you interacted with this video somehow, as it really helps me in the algorithm. Whether it be a like, subscribe, or comment down below, I appreciate it all the same. If you want me to talk more about the Cosmere tabletop role-playing game, or any other for that matter, let me know. I'd love to talk more about the different branches of the heroic paths, or about the way that they have implemented the use of surges into gameplay mechanics. If you have any interest at all in that kind of thing, I'll gladly revisit the topic. I'll see you back here in 2 weeks with my next video though. Bye!